Well, good morning, everyone. It's 8:30, and to honor everyone who's here, I'm going to start. It's great to see you. I just want to start out with a deep appreciation for all the work that you do, especially in getting ready for this next school year, which I know is always, challenging. I'll review the agenda, and then when Megan Lopez gets on, she'll talk about updates for WIDA, so you'll be able to get a firsthand glimpse of what is happening with the UWIDA. And I'll just review the agenda until I see that she's on. Um, so we're going to do the WIDA update, and then we have a recognition of an ESL competency-based endorsement, and Sue Caldwell will do that, and probably anybody else who's interested in talking about their competency-based program. We're going to review budget allocations. And then updates about the new system in altitude, which is replacing Midas. We'll also look at the USBE interpreter course and the advanced course. So there'll be information, but it's also about sharing the most promising practices that are going on and some interesting information based on a Zoom meeting I had with our new Title III contact in the Department of Labor, which is which is kind of interesting. Uh, so thanks for being here. I really appreciate the work that you're doing, and I'm gonna hand it over to Megan. Megan and I do kind of this tag team thing when they ask her about assessment and then they get into programmatic issues, then she sends them to me. And for people who are new to Title III, every piece of information that you could possibly want is on the Title III website. This is what I told to the new Department of Labor person. His name is Jeff. A very sweet guy, um, and put into a really interesting position um, that I'll talk a little bit about later. Okay, so Megan, are you ready to take over?
I sure am. Good morning, everyone. I just dropped the link to the slides in the chat. But please let me know if that link is not accessible. And then I am going to start to share. Is my volume okay? Okay. All right. Is everyone seeing my screen okay? Oh, shoot. Okay. It says you need permission. Okay. I will, once I'm done sharing, so I don't make you all screen sick by doing all the things, I will update those permissions. Apologies about that. Okay, well, let's get started. Welcome to a new school year. Yeah, it's hard to believe we're here already. Time has flown by. Um, do note that everything I share with you, I have also shared with assessment directors. And I would really, really highly encourage you all to make sure that your communication within your LEAs is just top notch and tight with your assessment directors and definitely your special education directors. And then, of course, anyone within your Title III or even Title I in federal programs, make sure that you're all sharing information since the world of our multilingual students, it veers into all those categories. So making sure that everyone's on the same page is just, it's crucial for success. So I am Megan Lopez. I'm in the Assessment and Accountability Department at the Utah State Board of Education. I am familiar with many of you, but welcome to those of you that are new this year starting in your positions. If you ever have any questions, please reach out. You will notice on this screen, I have only provided an email address. I do that intentionally. Quite often, Christelle and I and other USBE folks, we're in trainings, we're in meetings, and so getting to the phone is not super easy. So, being able to check email, kind of a quick sneak peek at our email happens a lot more in meetings, and we normally are able to respond a little faster. I do realize sometimes phone calls are 100% necessary and happy to schedule calls with anyone at any time as I'm available. But if you need something pretty quickly, I will let you know. Email is going to be the fastest way to get a response. Tracy Gooley, who is not here with me, she also helps with the WIDA assessments, but she specializes in the special education side of our WIDA assessments. So students with an IEP, 504, students needing accommodations, or students with the most severe cognitive disabilities that are also our English learners. She can always help and provide guidance for those students. So let's get into it. Um, First of all, if you go to our assessment website, if you are familiar with it, you will notice it has been completely overhauled and updated. I will say it's a lot more user friendly now. It's easier to make sense of and navigate. So again, completely updated. I have my own very own WIDA page with my own tabs and everything now. So it's been a little more organized. And like I said, everything has been updated, verbiage even since this summer. And we'll talk about this in a moment with the approval of our 2026 Consolidated State ESSA plan. So please do note that everything's updated, guidance, websites, everything. So just take note of that. I would even say bookmark these pages for reference. Most questions that I get are actually answered on the website and in these resources that I'm sharing.
Okay, Megan, we're getting questions about permission for
Yeah,
slides.
I'm gonna have to, if you guys don't care, if you all want to follow along with me, I can pause and do the permissions now. What is the preference?
Well, we can do that, but just so everybody understands that when Megan does a PowerPoint, I always send it out with the link to
Okay,
her
I'm gonna stop
to our meetings.
sharing. Yeah.
So,
Okay. Give me just a second. Okay. And then I'm going to copy and paste what I put in the chat earlier because I know that's the one downfall of Zoom is you don't get to see the chat if you come in a little later. All right. Can someone try now and let me know if that is working?
I can see the slides. Thank
Yes,
you.
it's working.
Okay. Fabulous. Okay, getting back to it. Sorry, gotta rearrange. It's always an awkward song and dance when you start sharing because, of course, everything changes. Okay, are we back to where we were? Okay. All right, so moving on. Really important things. Normally, this is shared with us, but just in case, I would like to put a reminder in at the beginning of the year. If you have new staff within your LEA, or there's even address changes or anything like that, please let us know as soon as possible. So, a couple of things. If you need district level permissions, so this is the highest level of permissions for your LEA, I do have to create that for you for both of your WIDA accounts. Okay. So you should have two WIDA accounts. You're going to have your WIDA Secure Portal account and then your WIDA AMS account. If you need the highest level permissions, reach out to me. I need first, last name, and email address in order to create those accounts. As soon as they're created, you will get an email for each account. Now, if someone just needs test administration access, educator access, school admin, I am not sure what's happening with my screen. Did you guys just lose what I was sharing?
No, it's still there, but it's in the,
Okay,
there
is
we
it
go.
back?
Yep, it's back now. Thanks.
Okay, good. Not touching anything, and my computer definitely has a mind of its own. So um, you or your assessment director are in charge of creating all other accounts within your LEA. Okay. So only reach out to me for the highest level permissions, and then you are, or your assessment director, whoever you deem in charge of that, will be your one of your duties and responsibilities. If you have a shipping address change, you can either email me or Marine Rushing to let us know. I know a lot of schools have construction happening and things change all the time. Please, please, please let me know so we can make sure that materials get to the right places and buildings. Okay. Myself or Marine for address changes. Those definitely need to be updated as soon as possible because we will start ordering materials in October. So please let us know. All right, so let's get into screening. Hopefully, you are familiar with our assessment director memos as well. You are welcome to get on our assessment director memo listserv as well, or just ensure that your assessment directors are sharing the information in those memos. We have overhauled our memos as well. There is an online shared Google Drive for all assessment directors where we now have just a repository so you can access all historical assessment director memos and go back and see all information shared. And so those go out weekly on Tuesdays, except for weeks that we have meetings. Okay. Um, and then um, most of this information has been shared there, but you should know that screening could have started for this year, starting July 1st. Don't panic if you didn't start before the school year, you still have time. Just remember that all WIDA screener materials are free. You should never, ever, ever purchase anything unless you're like, we want all super professionally, like printed, laminated things, then you would need to do that. Otherwise, everything is free for download and printing in the WIDA Secure Portal, or because we are by default an online assessment state for students in the grades 1 through 12 that are just general screener, those are all available in WIDA AMS. The booklets, kindergarten screener, alternate screener, again, those are available free for printing. And do note that whether you do printing in color or black and white, it does not make a difference. There were studies and research done to show that whether it's color or black and white did not have an effect on how students scored whatsoever. Okay. Just remember that while we say online screener for grades 1 through 3, writing is still done in a booklet that goes for screener and access online. So screener online, access online, because we don't expect students in grades 1, 2, or 3 to be proficient typers at that time. So they still get a write in a booklet. It is still considered an online assessment. Now, if you need paper screening materials, like a full-blown paper screener, because you have a student that might need paper for accommodation purposes, but don't quite need an alternate screener, or they have little to no technology experience, And this is for grades 1 through 12. Please contact me. We house all the paper screener materials at the state, and I can have them shipped out to you via FedEx. Very, very quickly. You just have to make sure that if I do ship out paper screener materials for you to utilize, that you keep your score reports and the student booklet that's been utilized. You would just need to ship back all other secure materials to me. So again, if you need paper screener materials, contact me. There should never be a cost to you. Um, all the screener trainings that test administrators need to do, those have been updated in the WIDA Secure portal. Please remember that any test administrator does need to complete the annual testing ethics training and also whatever tests they're going to administer for WIDA screeners. Those need to be done annually as well. There's always updates to the tests. So you do have to do those trainings. Just as a heads up, I always do a training that's specific to Utah, just what you need to know for the process and changes each year. That training has been completed and it is available on our assessment YouTube page. It says for new ADs and ADs needing a refresher, but that also applies to new ALS directors and ALS directors that are wanting a refresher as well. The link to the recording is on this slide. Again, it's on our assessment YouTube page and it will say 2627 screener training. This is not the test administration training. It is just here are all the changes that you're going to need to know for this year. And then just remember that it's a kind of sometimes a wonky little rule, but this is per federal law. At the beginning of the school year, you have 30 days, and this is 30 calendar days, from the first day of enrollment. So in the first month of school, you have 30 days to screen students based on their home language survey. After that first month of school is over, it drops down to 10 school days for the remainder of the year. Okay. So if you have students new that have never been screened in the state of Utah, so new to the state, there are sometimes unique circumstances. Our EL assessment guidance will go through those unique circumstances. But again, beginning of the school year, 30 calendar days. After that first month is over, 10 school days. And then, of course, please make sure that you are sending home the annual notification letter. Again, it's annual, so it's not just at the time of identification. All current students that are considered EL and marked as EL in your SIS do have to get these letters. Christelle has been amazing, and I believe she has it provided in 16 languages at this point. Yeah, so just fabulous. So you can send it home electronically or via like just regular, you know, postal mail. But just make sure that the verbiage that is on our form is on your form. I know some districts and LEAs like to use their own personalized letterhead and stuff like that. That's fine, but just make sure that the verbiage matches exactly. Now, also the 2026 access reports are available. Thank you so much for those of you that reported that they were not working. They were showing, but then when you actually clicked on it to download the PDF, there was an error. That has been fixed, and thank you for reporting that to me. Without LEAs telling us, we have no idea, and it takes LEAs like telling me for me to get IT to do anything about it. So thank you for those reports. If you ever encounter it, let me know immediately. And then I will have an LEA to back up the claim and IT will get to it very quickly. So those reports are available for you to view in the data gateway. Remember, as students go from LEA to LEA, you want to check to make sure that students do or do not have scores if they're new to Utah or not. Um, and this way, it should actually help your workload a little. I know checking the data gateway feels cumbersome, but if a student's already been screened and they've already qualified for services in Utah, you don't have to go through that extra screening again. So, again, just do note that those are there. And then also, I have updated the access for new ALS and new ADs, that training as well for the 26-27 school year. I really highly suggest you view both the screener and this WIDA access one, as there are lots of changes, especially pertaining to access this year, since we did have our consolidated state ESSA plan approved over the summer. So again, links to those recordings on our YouTube pages are on these slides. And here we go. I know you're like, girl, we just started school and you're already giving me access dates. Sure am. I want y'all to be prepared, okay? So, um, we do have the dates. They're available. They are posted on our Utah page that is hosted by WIDA. And most of these are posted on our USBE one. Not all of these dates are posted, but do note that we have the dates. So the things that you're going to want to have, I've only given you up to the testing window because I don't want to overwhelm. We are the beginning of the school year. Um, the very first date that you're going to want to know about is October 12th through the 27th. That 2-week window is going to be the first initial materials ordering window for you all. Remember, the state, we order all the regular access materials for you. So that's kindergarten and online materials. We do not know which students are going to need alternate access or Braille access, as that's a local LEA decision. So, or even large print access. You know that we don't have access to all of that. So you will need to order any alternate or Braille materials during this initial window if you want those materials ahead of time. Don't panic if you're like, we got a student after that window that needs alternate. There will be an additional materials ordering window so you can still get everything you need. Okay. Um, and then the first pre-ID load will be on October 10th. So October 10th. Megan, wow. October 30th, the day before Halloween. Um, so that means before the 30th, please have your SIS updated as much as possible. Again, we know that this enrollment changes day to day to day, but we will do the main upload and materials ordering based on what we capture on the 30th. Okay. So, and again, don't panic. We have other ordering opportunities, and then we will do another pre-ID load. Okay. So again, make sure that your SIS is updated. And then on the 12th of December is the 12th month. You guys, I'm so sorry for the struggles today. It's been real. The 2nd of December, that's when you will start to see students in AMS for available for test registrations. Remember that registrations is just their new fancy term for a test session. Okay. We will be doing our second pre-ID load on the 10th of December. So, any other enrollment, new students that were identified to your LEA, we will also load those students into AMS for you. Materials won't be ordered for those students. We always do get extra, but if you do need any extra materials, then you can do that as soon as the test window opens. So again, make sure that everything is updated by the 9th of December for that second load. Please remember, we do not take students out. We only add new students or transfer students around, okay? We will never take a student out until the window is closed. Then we take all students out to ensure that we have all enrollment and we're capturing where students are accurately because there's so much tied to accountability. So you'll be receiving your materials on December 14th and 15th. So just ensure that you have someone there to sign for it and that someone's willing to accept the materials. We have had LEAs in the past have people say, I don't want these and send them back. And that was not a good situation. So make sure you know that people are looking out for the materials to sign for them. And then our testing window this year is January 5th through March 5th. It's 2-month window. We highly encourage you to make sure you are utilizing the entire test window. So unlike RISE, we always say choose your testing window within the window. You don't need to do that for access. Again, this is a test that is extremely like tied to a student's civil rights. So providing ample opportunity for students to test is crucial. If you wait till the last week to do testing, are you really providing ample opportunity for students to engage in their civil rights? Okay. What if that kiddo's sick that week? Would they even have the opportunity to make it up? So do not wait to the very end, please. And again, there has been a lot of research and studies to show that waiting, 4 weeks really does not have a big effect on student scores. It's like there really wasn't a big, like, I don't even think there was a finding to show that it made a difference. So please use the entire testing window. All right. And then as I have been saying, finally, and I know some of you probably like had your own celebration as soon as this was announced this summer. Our 26 ESSA plan was approved in July. Now most of you were actually off enjoying your summer vacations. So if you missed this, I'm sorry that you missed the celebration. I know, I love seeing all the claps and celebration. It was finally approved. It only takes just, about 9 months to a year, but it is approved. So you can access the new Consolidated State ESSA plan. The only titled programs that were amended this time were Title I and Title III. Okay, so and most of this is going to be with school improvement. So when it comes to TSI, CSI, ATSI, and then for the Title III indicator. So the best part of this is, because we've been working on this for years at this point, is our alternate access proficiency was approved and our alternate access adequate progress targets were approved finally. So you can exit students that take alternate access finally. So these are your duly identified students, MLs with the most significant cognitive disabilities. So if you want, you can either look in the ESSA plan or the accountability manual was just updated and it was just posted that I don't even have the link yet, but it is on our website. So if you want to see all the business rules and how growth is going to be measured, you can access that through the plan or the accountability technical manual. So do note, if you haven't yet, please exit students that qualify with the alternate access exit criteria, which I'll share in a minute. And you can also start to measure growth. We do have 25 alternate access data, so we will be measuring growth for that group now as well. And then our general students just taking general access, those adequate progress growth targets, those were updated as well. That was also big work. And so all of our growth now truly represents Utah empirical data, what we see happening in Utah for those growth targets. Okay. So, and the growth again this year for the new report cards is going to be based on these new targets. Okay. So, again, all the guidance is there on what to do and how to do this. So our EL assessment guidance, it has directions now pertaining to how to exit our alternate access kiddos. And then again, working in partnership with Christelle, we updated the exit letters now as well. And she already has those posted and again updated in numerous languages. So you can be exiting and sending those exit letters home to students that now qualify. So again, those are all linked right here. Do note that, and they are available when you send exit letters home. Again, you do need to have the verbiage verbatim, but if you want to put it on your own, like personalized LEA letterhead or anything like that, you are welcome to do that. We just need to make sure that it is the same verbiage. So again, just remember that part of exit is, and I see I'll answer questions in just a second. Part of your exiting for any student, whether it's alternate exit or just general exit, you do have to initiate a student parent teacher conference. So any students that are exited now from alternate, please make sure that you're initiating that communication to get those scheduled. I know sometimes it is hard to get those scheduled. Just make sure if you're like, we've tried, we've reached out, we can't get parents to come in, please double check that you're communicating in preferred home languages, and that you're not just sending things electronically, you're trying phone calls, sending things in the mail. But just document also that you have been making the attempts and it's not just, well, we tried once, right? You're making ample attempts because, again, so tightly tied to our students' civil rights. Okay. And then also do make sure that you're updating your SIS to show that the students are now considered proficient. Make sure that you enter that they are now in monitoring and the monitoring date. Students need to be placed in monitoring for 4 years, whether it's general or alternate exit. Okay. Um, and make sure that you are really truly following your own LEA monitoring plan. Okay. And that parents are aware of what monitoring looks like for your LEA. We don't dictate what monitoring looks like. This is an LEA choice. Okay. All right. Do we have access to our students' adequate growth targets for the upcoming WIDA? Um, Beverly, that's a great question. You don't have it access readily, but if you reach out to David Mackey in data and statistics and you spell his name that way, so it's david.mackey at schools.utah.gov. They already have all of this loaded into their system. So in the past, you've been able to just ask for a file to see if students have reached their growth targets, and what should it be expected for the upcoming year. They have it loaded and they can send you those CSV files through Move It. So reach out to David if you want those. Perfect. For those students that exit through the alternate access, okay, yep, I see the answer. Good. Glad we're answering all the things. Okay, so WIDA trainings. We do have WIDA trainings so USBE partners with WIDA to do trainings every year. Those have been posted in the new altitude system. I know Christelle is going to be reviewing that shift from Midas to altitude. If you want to engage any of your educators or even just you yourself in any of these trainings, it is course 1000055 in altitude, and there are numerous sections. Every section in there has a description, and this year I was able to create little one-pager flyers as well that will tell you exactly the purpose of the course. And so you can share those with people in your LEAs that may be interested. So you can kind of help promote some of these trainings. Okay. So those are all available. There's going to be 5 in-person or live webinar trainings this year, but then do note that we have 13 this year, 13 self-paced courses available in the WIDA Secure portal. None of these are mandatory. They're just, volunteer or by choice. They are all on Canvas platforms, but there are 13 free self-paced asynchronous courses that will be available for this year that any educator in the state of Utah can have access to if they want. All of those will go live really soon here on September 1st. If teachers just want to get in there and you want to get in there and check out all the resources and there's only certain modules you want to do, you can do that. You don't have to complete these courses. They are not required, but there is a ton of good information and just resources to utilize in those trainings. And then this is a lot on this page, so I apologize. I just wanted you to have other information about free webinars that are specific to testing that WIDA will do. Please note that I realize you're like, Megan, August 4th, long time ago. But guess what? All webinars that WIDA offers that are free for assessments, they are all recorded and they stay available in the WIDA Secure portal that you can access and go and watch at your own time. Okay, so always available, and those will remain available if you can't make it to the live one. The benefit of going to them live is that you can ask questions if you have questions. And these, again, are specific to testing. Okay. Do you know how long they usually take? Bruce, for these free ones, these are an hour and a half. For the Canvas courses that are just by choice, those it really depends on the course. I think most of them, if you do them and do them with fidelity, they probably take anywhere from, if you do like the application components in your classroom, I think total time it might be like 8 to 10 hours. But again, it's kind of expected to do one of the modules and then practice and apply things to your classrooms normally. Okay. All right. Now, one thing that I started last year is I started collecting all the most frequently asked questions and myths or like misconceptions that I've been hearing out in the field as I go and visit schools and all that kind of stuff. So, one thing I started with our assessment directors last year was every meeting we had, I just started a section called WIDA, Did You Know? And this is my way of just getting information out there to help correct just rumors out there or anything like that. And so this month with our assessment directors, our WIDA Did You Know moment was knowing that the WIDA Secure portal, that is something that technically every single educator in the state of Utah can have. We don't want every educator to have access to WIDA AMS, as that is the secure assessment platform. And within the secure portal, we don't even need every educator to have access to the assessment trainings, but we do want every educator to have access to the secure portal for the free professional development and those 13 free courses, right? Every educator in the state of Utah is an ML educator. They're going to be in their classes. And it really is the duty of every single educator in the state of Utah to ensure that they are providing access to academic language for all students, right? Not one student. It doesn't matter where you're born, what language you're born speaking. But in the United States, it is their civil rights to have access to academic English to have access to all content learning. Not one student is born speaking like a scientist. Not one student is born speaking like a mathematician. Every single content area teacher is a specialist in what they teach, and we need all educators to know that they have to provide that technical language specific to their content to all students. And so we know that every single student will benefit from this instruction, and we want them to have the tools to do this for all students. And a lot of these tools come and they can learn about it and are free through these accounts. So there is a way to do a bulk upload if you want to. You just need to contact the WIDA Client Services. They will give you a CSV file that you just need to fill in with all your educator names and email addresses, and they will, they'll do it easily for you where every single educator can have these accounts. So it really is easy. We really encourage you to make sure that all teachers have the tools and are starting to learn about what are some best practices that we know are highly effective for our multilingual learners, but all of our students are going to benefit from. So that's my Weta Did You Know moment. And again, please contact me. Here is where you can access my phone number. Like I said, I'm really sorry. Most of the time it's going to go to voicemail because I am in meetings, but reach out. I'm happy to meet with you, and I'm happy to help you in any way possible. If you do need professional development, I'm not positive. Christelle, did I hear that you're going to talk about how to request professional development now through the PD request portal?
No, I'm not going to really talk about that. I'm going to talk about the courses that are available, um,
Okay.
because requesting one-time sessions for Title III doesn't make any sense, but all the courses we have can be used by every charter and every LEA.
Perfect. Okay. Um, if you just want to have a chat, you don't need to request anything. Just email us, okay, or me. If you're like, I do want to have some training specific, there is a process. Just email us and we can help you with accessing the portal now to request PD. But as Christelle said, we don't want one and done. It really should be sustained. So, to ensure that, good instruction is happening in classrooms, but also that we're practicing good instruction on our end as well. And yes, I will post those slides once again in the chat. And again, please, please, please look over the EL assessment guidance. Please check out our new consolidated state ESSA plan, our accountability manual, and also do access. I'm asking you to do a lot, and I apologize. It's that beginning of the year just load. Please make sure that you view the updated access and screener trainings for this year. And I'm here to help and support you in any way. It's our jobs to support you, to make sure you're successful, to ensure that our students get what they need and are successful themselves. Um, just hats off to you. You do amazing work, and we're so grateful to just get the opportunity to work with you. So
Thanks,
with that, I'm
Megan.
gonna stop. Yeah.
Okay, so um, any last questions for Megan? And you don't have to put it in the chat. You can actually speak up. We do like to hear voices, not just see faces. Okay, Megan, thank you so much. I really appreciate, all the work that you do and that we do together, which is a really important way to collaborate so that, we're working as a team across different programs, which is an important model for districts as well. Um, so that assessment and Title III and the directors and everyone else. As Shelley says, I don't see them in the slides.
You don't. That is specific to it's all in, I'm trying to find the slides. It is all in the access training. And I'm gonna find the link. to it really quickly. Essentially though, it's a kind of a two pathway, and I'm so sorry, I'm just
So do you want to
looking.
repeat the question that Shelley asked Megan?
Yeah. Okay, here is the link. Okay, so Shelley's question was, did we go over the actual requirements for exiting all assessment kids? I don't see them in the slides. No, we did not. I'm going to drop the link in the chat to those slides as this is part of the updated access training that's posted on YouTube. When you access those trainings, do note that there is a QR code and a tiny URL on them, so you can access all the slides at any time. But here's the long QR code to access them. Um, for alternate access, do you guys want me to spend a minute on that criteria?
I think it
I'm
would be
happy
helpful for
to.
every, yeah, I think it would be helpful for everybody.
Okay. Okay.
That
I'm
would
gonna
be awesome.
just, okay, I'm gonna flip to, because I just dropped these slides that are part of that training in the chat, and then really quickly I will share.
And there, Megan, there's also another question uh, uh,
Okay.
from Holly Harris.
Okay. Holly, kindergarten screening, you just need to get into the WIDA secure portal. They're all free and you can download them and print them there. Unless you are like, we really want professionally printed things, then that would be an LEA responsibility to purchase. Otherwise, they're all free for download and printing there. Okay, so the alternate access exit criteria. This is on page 15. So it's a two pathway exit. So we worked with a lot of people on this. We worked with the Center for Assessment. We worked with Utah's TAC, Technical Advisory Committee, with Utah's APAC, our Assessment and Accountability Policy Advisory Committee, which I believe some of you actually may sit on. Um, and then also a group of educators that work with duly identified students. So it's a two pathway exit criteria for automatic exit, and this is only students that take alternate access, the students with the most significant cognitive disabilities. Automatic exit is if a student gets an overall composite of a 5. Okay. Those students automatically exited. No question. Okay. There is a second path though. The second path this is going to be a local LEA decision. It has to be determined by a team that is comprised of the school's IEP and EL specialists that will make this decision together. Okay. So if you don't have the IEP team or the EL specialist, doesn't work. You have to have all of these people come to the table together to determine. So the second pathway is if the student gets an overall composite score of a 4 and has a DLM English language arts score, overall score of a 4, okay? Then the LEA gets to decide if they want to exit the student, okay? If that team, when they come together, they see the student got a 4 on access, alternate access, and they have a 4 on DLM, ELA, do we believe this student has enough academic English to continue with their content learning and they have that academic English to access their content learning and all their other classes that they will be taking. Okay. If in that conversation they meet those two criteria and the team says yes, then you can exit the student and you would send home the exit letter, again, which has been updated. So automatic is 5. No conversations need to take place. Exit the student, send home the letter. If it's that two-prong criteria of the 4 overall on access, alternate access, and the 4 on DLM, ELA, then the LEA gets to decide. It's a local decision at that point. Tracy Gooley is truly the specialist in this area, so she can provide a little more guidance. But the biggest question that your teams need to be asking is, does this student have the academic English to access content learning? And if you feel confident and you say yes, exit the student, right? But this is exactly why we have monitoring for 4 years. Because if at any moment you're like, we think this language barrier might actually still exist, then you can screen the student again to see if they really should requalify for services. Again, there are some unique things that you have to think about with this population because they are severely cognitively disabled. Some students do have oh goodness, I can't think of the word, degenerative conditions. So things might actually be getting worse over time. So there's going to be a lot of considerations, but Tracy can help you in those conversations of things to say, where are the students at right now? What do we know about this student? And you truly do know these students best. And that's why we want it to be a local decision. Questions?
Okay, I'm going to add something to what Megan is talking about. This isn't about severely cognitively challenged students. But since I've worked with Kim Fratto on this, the over-identification of English learners for special ed is a serious problem in Utah. For some strange reason, we're not clearly understanding that if a student knows 2 or 3 languages or another language, that is an asset. It's not a deficit. And so then the question becomes, and I think I sent it out, but I'm not sure. After this meeting, I'll make sure that we do this. Translanguaging, which is a really, really important way to think about students' resources in their family languages. I mean, it's interesting because in the after-school program in a summer seminar I did, I had 2 students from Eritrea. And so I made sure that when we translated the exit letter that Eritrea is in there. So I have to go back and do Eritrean. But this whole idea of thought somehow and cognition being so connected to language that if you don't speak English, somehow you have you have a disability. Okay, that's not true. So I would really encourage everyone when you have meetings for students um, that you have not only the special ed team, but also someone who, and I just got this question from a school about, having a really important team that has someone who understands language acquisition and eventually will get better in understanding the strategies for translanguaging. I'm doing that work this year specifically. So, it's really important that our underlying assumptions about cognition and cognitive ability is not connected to whether students speak English or not. Robin has a question. So, Robin, do you want to put the question in the chat or do you want to speak up about it?
I can just say it. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Robin.
Yep.
Yeah, so I have a student who has taken the alternate test the last 3 or 4 years. He's received a 5 the last couple of years, but I feel like he's improving each time. Like I'd like to see what he could do on the regular access test. Can I keep him in? And
That's a great question, and thank you for asking it. If this past year, the 26 access score was a 5, you do have to exit the student. Okay. You can't keep them in services, right? But this is exactly why we have monitoring, right? So if they qualify to exit, you have to exit them. That being said, when you have students that are potentially dually identified, right? It the reason why we have you order those materials for Braille and alternate or large print is because it is a local decision. We don't have all the details about these students and what they truly need. You know that. And you, as the LEA, get to determine the test that is most appropriate for that student. Okay. So just because a student takes DLM, it doesn't mean they have to take alternate access. Again, that's a local decision you get to determine. So, really, when you are doing this and going through the process, you might, when you're looking at these students, might want to sit down with the team and say, what does our process look like when we determine who takes what test and what accommodations they truly need, right? Do we actually have all the key players at the table to have this discussion and what accommodations are truly needed? I have seen where some districts just they're like, we're just marking this accommodation for all the students whether they need it or not, right? And then when it comes time to take the test, the students are like, why do I have this? I've never actually seen it before. And it actually throws them off on the test. So make sure that you are really looking at students individually and determining what's going to be best for them. And Robin, again, such a great question. If you're like, I really think this student can take the general access, maybe not online, maybe I just want to order regular paper so we can still do a one-on-one test administration and it's not going to be computerized, but it's going to be the regular, just all paper version. You can do that. You all know your students best, and it is local control decisions, and we want to empower you to make those choices.
Great. So at this point, he has exited. He will not do any more of the online testing, but I can do it paper if I just.
No, if the student is exited, they do not take access. They are considered not EL. They do not take access. They are in monitoring. The only way a student can go back into testing is if during monitoring, you're collecting data, you're watching their progress, you have data to back up that you believe an academic English language barrier still exists. Then at that point, you can screen the student again using the appropriate screener for that student. And then based on that score, either qualify them or not. But again, you would have to have evidence to really show we believe this is still an academic English barrier, not some kind of learning disability or physical disability, truancy issues, anything like that. You really do have to have like monitoring that is thorough to back it up.
Yeah, I'm just going to add to this. So that's why students have individual learning plans that are focused on how the LEA is monitoring a student's academic progress. So that's one thing. I mean, the other thing, again, goes back to this issue of, you know, who's engaged in those decisions? Someone who has no idea about language acquisition? Okay, probably not. I mean, someone who actually has that experience, and we'll talk about competency-based ESL endorsements in a minute, but also the parents. How involved are the parents in making decisions related to the academic equitable access for students? I mean, it's very clear that the responsibility of every single, educator working together in teams is to engage the families in a way to make the kinds of decisions that will support what happens at home as well. So those two pieces are really important. The individual learning plan that is, and there's a sample one on the Title III website, as well as all on the homepage, all the requirements for engaging parents. So, that's why we certify interpreters. I mean, the reason we certify interpreters is not only because it's federal law and a civil rights issue, but it's also now state law. It's been state law since 2022 for the
Mhm.
language access policy, right? So all these things are really important, and the work that you're doing is so critical in relationship to how you share the successes that you have and the promising practices with other people in the state. I have all kinds of people emailing me, and the thing I say to them, well, you should be talking to Esther Blackwell at Entheos. Should be talking to Lizzie Matheson in Summit Academy. You should be talking to Lindsay at Monticello. We have these, amazing people all over the state who have done extraordinary work. And so to learn from each other is the advantage of being a professional educator, right? So other questions for Megan. And Robin, thank you
I
for the
do.
question. It was a really critical question.
Yeah, thank you. I do see one in the chat. So, Wanderson, so once a student is exited, they are no longer considered EL. They are considered fluent and proficient. You update your SIS, you enter the new monitoring date, but you do have to monitor the student for 4 years. During monitoring, they, again, not EL, they do not take access during that time. But again, during your monitoring, if as you are monitoring, because this is the purpose of monitoring, right? You have data to back up that you believe, your team believes, an academic English language barrier exists still, preventing the student from accessing content learning. And monitoring is now revealing that, and it's nothing else. Everything's been ruled out. Then you can screen the student again to see if they would actually qualify for language services and qualify as an EL again. But once the student has exited, they're exited. They don't test unless monitoring reveals through good data collection that there is a strong indication that an academic English language barrier does actually still exist. And then you would have to screen the student. A student cannot receive services without being screened again and actually qualifying. And we have seen instances where LEAs really had data to back up that they believed this was a language barrier still existing. They screened the student again, having conversations with the parents and the whole team. And then they screened the student, and the student's like, the results were no, they're actually proficient. And so then it was like, no, the student does not qualify again. We got to go back to the drawing board and actually figure out what's happening again. And it was a great time to actually say, is our monitoring up to snuff, right? It is our monitoring doing what it should truly do. And are we collecting the right data at the right time and for the right purposes, right? And again, as Christelle said, a language barrier is not a disability whatsoever. So we got to be able to tease those two out. And that's why it's very important that we have all the key players there to have this discussion.
Yeah,
Did
I'll just say
that
another.
answer that? Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm just going to say again about the over-identification of English learners throughout the state of Utah. This is not acceptable. Okay,
Mm-mm.
we're much
Yeah.
better than this. And part of the issue ends up being looking at regular education teachers' abilities to scaffold academic English in their content area. Okay, so if you think there's an issue because of grading, but the teacher that the student, is in the course isn't in any way able for all students to ensure that well-scaffolded instruction makes grade level content accessible, then we have a different kind of issue. This is an issue of deep professional learning related to how schools, principals, district people work with their teachers to be more qualified to work with all students, not just students who they think are proficient in English. This goes back to, what we did last year when we identified high schools who have a high percentage of English learners in advanced coursework. Okay, the reason they have, a high percentage of students in advanced coursework is because they've redesigned their counseling program. They've redesigned regular education, professional learning for content understanding based on the grade level in mathematics and science and English language arts. Right. So this issue is really a critical issue because of the longstanding over-identification of English learners as needing special ed. Okay, so this is a really, and if you want another time when we bring Kim Fratto and the special ed people on, because we're doing a new project, and if you're interested in, you can send a request to me, and Kim Fratto and I will look at it in relationship to the work that you're doing when you identify students who are English learners with a special need. Okay, so we're here to provide that kind of technical assistance that will alleviate the issue of over-identification of English learners in special ed. I mean, that's why we're here. We want our students who are English learners and have, when I have a few students, and one student in particular who's now in the honors college was put in the lowest level classes. Okay, he actually knows 5 languages. Now he's in the honors college, but the counselor wouldn't put him in advanced courses because he had a WIDA score, even though he had no idea what the WIDA score meant. So I'm saying this not to shame anybody, but to say that there's amazing work being done throughout the state so that students learning English have access to academic grade level content and a future academic career. Right? I mean, this is kind of why we're all here. And you're already doing that, and people are doing amazing work. So if you want to better understand how that's happening in districts, all you have to do is email me, and I'll connect you with people who are doing the most promising practices. Any other questions before Megan leaves us? Probably for another meeting.
Story of my life. Sorry.
Well, thanks, Megan. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I am here anytime. Reach out. We want to support you and never apologize. For some reason, you're all like, I'm sorry for bothering you. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it's my
Yeah.
job to support you. Never apologize.
Yeah. So, Megan, now it's getting a little bit cooler. You'll have to come over to my backyard oasis and we'll spend some time together.
I need a backyard oasis. I feel like we should have a whole ALS director backyard oasis moment.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Okay, so
Thank you all.
thanks again, Megan. So the next thing we're actually gonna jump to Sue. I think Sue Caldwell's here, and I saw Lizzie as well, and Michelle and Veronica, and we're just gonna have them talk about their um, successes or challenges about their ESL competency-based endorsement. Competency-based means I provide all the resources, all the updated research with all the 5 courses, and districts end up saying, you've updated the language acquisition. We're looking at ours so that we can better support our teachers who are getting their competency-based endorsement. The reason it's competency-based and intertwined oftentimes with instructional coaching is that when teachers make their own learning goals based on what they actually see happening with their students, then their professional development is actually embedded in their classroom practices, right? Cash, this year I didn't get a chance to go to their presentations of the competency-based endorsement. I did go to Wasatch, and I think Ellie's here, and she can actually chime in. But we'll start with Davis and their program, and they'll talk a little bit about their experiences with a competency-based program. which means you're not paying, not that I have anything against universities, you're not paying universities for their coursework that might be out of date. Maybe it's not. Like translanguaging, I know that a new really wonderful professor at the University of Utah is doing professional development with schools on translanguaging, which is about using the assets of the home language for developing conceptual, rigorous understanding that can then be applied to content courses. So, Sue, wherever you are, do you want to kind of start?
Absolutely. Thanks for this opportunity, Christelle. And I just want to wish everybody Happy New Year, even though it's not January, but Happy New School Year. I hope things are going well for everyone. We started a competency-based program a few years ago, and we usually typically have over 100 participants in our Davis ESL endorsement program. Last year, we started something a little bit different, and we brought on in a pilot kind of a program with Bountiful High and Syracuse High. They piloted a school-based competency endorsed program where the instructional coaches that work there who are ESL endorsed, and they work very closely with our team here in Federal programs, but they coach teachers through the TESOL standards. And so they were the ones on site able to go in and observe these teachers on a regular basis and really help them through improving their practice. This year, we have 5 schools who are participating in school-based programs with their instructional coaches. Viewmont High School, so another high school, Mueller Park Junior High, Northridge High School, Central Davis Junior High, and Bountiful High School is continuing from last year. So with all of that, we have about 145 teachers working towards their ESL endorsement through federal programs or their school. So we're super excited about it. We're grateful for this opportunity to do it on a local basis and to help follow through and work so closely with our teachers here in trying to achieve that goal of having all of our students have ESL endorsed teachers.
Thanks, Sue. I think Carly Chavez in Granite, I think they had one of their high school principals working with all the high school teachers for their endorsement. So this model of focusing on the school and then using the resources, right? So Carly's there. Do you want to say how you guys did that? Because it's very similar to what Sue's talking about.
Yes. So, yes, very similar to what she talked about. We had, as our principals were creating like a continual improvement plan, writing their school goal or plan, we had Cypress High School last year decide to implement that the whole staff would join our ESL endorsement. So that was really great. And then we had a few different kind of paths for what they could do for that, right? Based on how much they wanted of that. If some had already had it, they could still join for part of things. And so it was just designed carefully with different PDs and different things, but it was awesome. It was a great way to impact the entire school community. And since then, we've had a lot of different schools that have integrated plans into their continual improvement plan. So it's been awesome.
Thanks, Carly. And so you see that whatever resources you have in your district, Lizzie, I think, is here and she can talk from the charter perspective, and we have also Michelle. So Lizzie, do you want to talk from the charter perspective? Because I know from Summit Academy's experiences, it's been, really a powerful experience. And then we'll have Michelle Loveday talk a little bit about, what they're actually doing. Because, I get a chance to actually approve all these endorsements, the competency-based endorsements. And so for me, it's exciting. Here I am early in the morning or whenever I get to it. And, there are 100 applications or like 50 applications. To me, it's very exciting. If you thought about what was happening 10 years ago in Utah, this is really a different story. So, Lizzie, do you want to say a little bit about from a charter perspective?
Yeah, I'm with Summit Academy and I'm an instructional coach at one of our campuses, and then I'm the EL coordinator for all 4 campuses. So at the campus that is my home campus, We started in 2022, our adequate progress targets were about 33%. And since we had about 8 teachers earn their ESL endorsements, we've gone up to last year of 57.1%. So a big jump. So we've had a harder time getting all the campuses involved, and some of the principals have asked my principal, hey, how do you get that many teachers to do it? And I'm like, oh, because we have Lizzie here. So, but it's because I have my endorsement. So now the name of the game is, hey, let's get all the coaches endorsed so that they can really see that. So I think somebody said earlier they got their coaches to do it, and I think that's a big key. So we're starting to get more of our coaches endorsed, and hopefully that will spread. And then they obviously are more bought into the idea because they see that it works with the data. Something I've really loved to see is those teachers who have gotten their ESL endorsements have become strong leaders at our school. So they're starting to train our staff in SIOP model more and things like that. So it's been nice to just see that spread, right? Even though we don't have, we want more, and that is tricky. Right now, we only have 4 enrolled. We do try to give a $1,500 stipend for when they earn that. So to help out with their time that they're spending. It is still tricky to get people enrolled, but I think that's the name of the game, is to see how it impacts the data, and then also to then they hear the other teachers talk about, oh, this is what I've learned and this is what I know, and they see they have so much knowledge. And I think that's what buys teachers into, is that teachers love learning, right? And so then they want more knowledge to be able to impact their students. And the teachers that I've seen, I did a quick study, a correlation of students who are in a classroom with an ESL endorsed teacher, they meet their adequate progress targets. Those teachers, it's cool for me to see, because the teachers used to, I worked with them, and they'd be panicked saying, what do I do with these EL students? I don't know. I don't have this knowledge or experience, which they did have more than they realized. That's part of it, is pointing out that they do have more than they realize. But a lot of best practices are best practices for all students, right? But there are some additional things we can do, and things, but just getting those pieces down for them helped them to feel empowered, helped them to not, now they get their EL students, they're like, okay, great, we're so excited, right? They have that asset-based perspective. They know what to do, they know how to support them, and they don't have an issue having their students meet their adequate progress targets. So it's been really meaningful. And I think I get a lot of emails saying, like, what curriculum are you using? We really don't use a ton of different extracurriculum, right? It's best practices like structured student discourse. We do have newcomer toolkits, so we do things here and there to kind of help our newcomers or things like that, but it's not a separate set of curriculum or best practices. And so we don't separate our students, we don't do pull out. We don't need to, because when the teachers have those skills, like Christelle was saying, yeah. So it's just been awesome. Highly recommend it.
So Lizzie, I think you invited me to come in with your work with your instructional coaches, but I think those dates have disappeared from my calendar. So could you resend them for me?
Yeah, I'll send those to you for sure.
Okay, great, thanks. Michelle, do you want to hop on and
Yeah,
say
good
something
morning,
about your
everybody. Yeah, good morning. So we started our competency-based endorsement in 2024. We kind of were slow to start because I wanted to make sure it was intentional and well thought out as we developed it. And so thanks to other program models like Box Elder and Cache School District and Murray and Tooele, we were able to look at those models and ask questions and meet with the teams out there, and then do one that worked for our school district within the components that USBE had helped to outline. And so within that, we've had at least 50 new teachers every year with a cohort. And we run them Monday, Wednesday, and Tuesday, Thursday within those items, which has been really helpful. And I think the biggest connection that we were able to put together was the coaching cycle that we enlist the teachers to have to complete within this endorsement. That really, like everyone else is saying, provides that real instruction within the classroom. Because of the opportunity, we were able to have specific cohorts, just like Granite had talked about within schools. We were able to do a whole school for Copper Hills High School, for example. And we were able to do another school with Juniper Elementary. And then we did a special cohort for just special ed teachers, which I think was very helpful, as we talked about earlier, with just the over identification of our MLs and having them have a better understanding of that. I think that was very eye-opening and gave us some of the best advocates these last 2 years of them pushing teachers back and not, having them in their office. They had strategies and could fully understand. So that was successful. And then we had a really interesting cohort of counselors. We started working with our school counselors. And at first, it was kind of difficult. I think the hardest strategy was trying to have them do a coaching cycle, because what does that look like with counselors? But we were able to pull out some things, and they were able to put together some assemblies with culturally relevant material for the whole school of behavior. So that's been some good things. I think the only struggle that we are finding here and there, and it's usually just with like one or two teachers, because we are doing this competency based, where we're only meeting with them once a month to touch base, and then they're on their own. Procrastination at its best. And so then a few people get behind, but because of the coaching cycle and the fact that we've woven in some elevation videos, and then they try to like submit everything in a week, we can kind of push back and say, did you really apply this in your classroom? Can you verify? And really just let them know we're, even though we're not making them get credit, should they want to get SUU credit, is who we partner with. However, this is still a college level course, and we want you to take it seriously. And we hold them accountable and just say, we're going to have to remove you at this time. You're welcome to finish in the fall. And so we've only had to do that a couple of times. My teacher specialists are the ones doing the instruction, and they're all quite doing well with their grading and keeping up with that. So it's been a really good team effort here for us.
Yeah, so Michelle is from Jordan, Lizzie is from Summit Academy, and Carly is from Jordan, and Sue is
Granite,
from
Carly's
Day
Granite.
oh, Granite, sorry.
We
I
joke
do
because maybe one day.
yeah, and then Sue is from Davis. So Ellie, I always come to Ellie and Eric are so, they're just so generous, and they have a panel, which is really great. And I end up being a part of the panel. And of course, their thank you gifts are really wonderful. I'm not saying, that I'm bribed or anything like that, but it's just a really great experience. So, and I think you guys have been doing this for quite a while. So, Ellie, do you want to say something about your program?
Yeah, we started in 2021. We learned from others before we started. Um, Interesting. I have mixed feelings. I'm hearing, I know your districts are much larger. We have really, we send about 8 to 13 teachers through our program each year. And I'm listening to you, and I had this moment where I was like, oh, we have to do more teachers. But I have to remind myself about the process, because our program is very teacher centered, and it requires a lot of hands-on guidance from our coaches, and it's the teacher driving the bus. The teacher decides what books they're going to read, what workshops they're going to go to, what PD they might attend, what webinars they go to. And all of that is self-directed. And so that requires a lot of like guidance and hands-on work. We only meet once a month. It's funny, Michelle, we haven't had any teachers that we've had to ask to not complete it, but we have had teachers volunteer and say, maybe this isn't the best time for me. I'll finish it next year. So that's been nice, because I haven't had to be the bad guy, because we're not running a PD. We're not making people come and sit and get. They are designing their own professional development, but with the caveat that they're conducting action research. So cycles of action research, tiny cycles of action research. And that is informing what they know and don't know and what they need to learn. And so I think there's part of me that's like, yes, would I love a whole high school to do this? I would. Is it feasible the way that we do it? I'm not sure, because it's very differentiated and teacher-centered. So that would be the only, so I'm a bit curious, hearing from those of you who have scaled it up, and I realize Granite and Jordan, all of these are huge districts. So how do you maintain that teacher-centered quality at scale? That would be my first question. And my second question is, we have tried stipends. The most we ever got when we did stipends was 13 teachers. So I'm wondering what is, you think, the greatest motivator for your teachers to do the program? So those two questions.
Fear. I'm just kidding. Fear is the greatest
Michelle.
motivator. I am so mean. No. I think just to answer your question on scaling up, for example, it really does matter with what the school leader is doing. Ray Garrison was at Copper Hills, and she was also at West Jordan Middle when we also did a full faculty endorsement with just her faculty and seeing the need of the student population. So leadership does help because then the principal is at the helm at the meetings and also providing the stipend because our team didn't do it. And what helped us scale to that here in Jordan School District was then we enlisted the coach and teaching with us. So then the coach, the year prior was ESL endorsed because for us, we can't do a Tuesday, Thursday cohort and a Monday, Wednesday cohort, and then this special cohort at the school. So then we enlisted teachers at the school that were already endorsed, trained them with us to do it. So my teacher specialists weren't at capacity. When it came to the counselors and the special ed teachers, we just kind of cut a cohort out to do that one specifically. What motivates other teachers? To get it, like I said, the school administration is helpful. Fortunately, unfortunately, because we're a large school district, we then have a large number of schools that get into TSI. And because they are in targeted school improvement, two of the factors are usually special ed or their MLs. And I think it was an awakening across our district, especially out in our other, I call it our boroughs, South Jordan or Harriman, where a lot of the MLs weren't large, for them to understand and see, well, even though we quote unquote just have 100 MLs, they see the need to have better support and scaffolding for those populations. So, I joke fear, but also, yes, I mean, that is an incentive when they realize, oh, we're failing these students. And what do I need to do as an educator? And then we're there to kind of help push them along. And then greatly word of mouth. I think once we got teaching and learning involved with the coaches and that coaching cycle, they saw the benefits. Like I think, I don't know who said it from our Lizzie, just the benefits of good teaching strategies is helpful. So that's been what's helping us in Jordan School District.
Carly, do you want to say anything? I see your head shaking.
Yes, I do. I want to play off of that because very, very similar to what Michelle is saying. In Granite, I mean, we have 1/3 of our 58,000 students, 1/3 of them are MLs, right? So as we look at data and we see areas of concern, we're recognizing that all of our classrooms have a population of ML students. So the strategies and the things we're pushing and striving for are really good for all students. And our teachers are recognizing that although we have that focus on MLs, it's really good teaching for all students and they're seeing the benefit. And like Michelle said, we had to expand our coaches. I mean, my department only has 8 teacher specialists and we have 8 networks in Granite. Each of them oversee a network, so they each have 11 to 12 schools that they serve. And that includes elementary, junior high, and high school. And they are the go-to for our ESL endorsement. And this year, we already have 114 applicants, and we will divide that among those networks. And our registration is still open a few more weeks. And I have gone to our instructional coaching department in curriculum and assessment. I have moved to different departments and have trained different people to oversee. So in all of our schools, we have instructional coaches or we have literacy coaches. We have others that are trained to oversee and help us complete our coaching cycles. And they are a daily go-to to connect and watch for those strategies being done in class. Our program is also designed with the busy educator in mind. It is a self-paced course, but competency-based, where they have that continual check-in with coaching, but it is doable, right? And yes, and we're slowly growing. We've only been housing it all on our own last year and this year, so we're getting there. Before that, we had some support from outside agency to get up and running, but we're very proud of where we're at, and it's a continual work in progress for sure. But yes, thank you.
Thanks,
So,
Carly.
Carly, the competency piece, is that so the way the teachers show competency here in Wasatch is they collect data over time from their action research that shows the progress of their case studies and the other students as well. And, those have to be measurable outcomes with student achievement. So I'm curious, because when I hear you have them doing coaching cycles, are the teachers choosing what they're doing and then collecting data, or how does that work?
Yes.
Where's the
So,
competency? How is the competency shown in your program?
great question.
Yeah, let me just say one thing, Ellie. All the approved programs do that. There's always data research. There's
Yes.
always an analysis of case study and students and all of that stuff. So I'm just doing this generally because I know we have to move on.
Yeah.
But I just want you to know that that's part of when I look at the programs and I
Yes.
look to see how they're designing it, the research related to the case study for the students to see how their adjusted instruction has made a difference based on the students' data,
Right.
is what it's in everybody's approved programs.
Okay,
Just so
good
you know.
clarification, because I didn't hear it, and when I go to scale up, there are issues like getting everybody on board with that. So that's why I was curious if all these programs are doing that, because that has been an
Yeah.
ongoing challenge. You can't guarantee it. So yeah, okay.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ellie, for asking the questions, and Carly, Michelle. Monty's here, and I think Veronica's here from Nebo. If anybody wants to say anything, and also Michelle just put her email into the chat in case Ellie, you want to connect with them to see. So Veronica, do you want to add anything? Because I actually approved a lot of your
Yeah.
ESL endorsements this
Yes.
year.
Yes, I would actually like to just thank you for this opportunity, Chriselle. Good morning to everyone. Yes, I'm from Nebo School District, and our competency-based program, with a lot of help of other surrounding partners as well, along with Christelle and the guidance that she gave us. I have felt we're a very small district, however, we started very slow as well. And I have to say that the biggest thing that I am just dying to share is that what we found with our teachers and the feedback that we've received from them is the opportunity to have the coaching cycles. And I didn't realize the importance that was to our teachers. Just because where we were at before as a district, and now moving on to this endorsement, I have found that when teachers begin to ask for you to come in, for you to come and join, for you to come and witness, for you to come, that speaks a lot. And I have to say that has been my biggest takeaway from all this. And yes, our cohorts haven't been that large. I believe our first one, I mean, we started with a big amount, and then slowly teachers began to drop the course only because this was all new. So our first cohort might have been, I think, 17 people, and now it's 21. So we're still very new at all this. However, I have to say that it's that has been my biggest proud moment of doing all this and shifting to competency based because the amount of teachers that appreciate having these coaching cycles on a monthly basis has been enormous. And so for me, if there's a district that's being hesitant and trying to move forward in this direction, I would say, give it a try because really teachers are eager to learn how to help support not just our ML students, but all of their students. And that's what I have noticed that teachers have given back as a feedback.
Thanks so much, Veronica. Uh, Bruce, I know you're pretty new, but if you want to say anything, jump in. And Monty is from Salt Lake. Um, and I actually, in my spare time, usually near the spring, I actually teach the language acquisition course to their teachers. And their cohorts are really interesting because in the group of 20 or 25, I'll have a speech pathologist, I'll have a counselor, I'll have, you know, um, a kindergarten teacher, a high school physics teacher. So it's a very mixed group, and the way in which it's designed really makes a difference for their learning. So I'm, thankful that my connection to Salt Lake, because I was there so many years ago, has continued. So, Bruce, do you want to say anything?
I just think it's a great discussion. I mean, Murray, I know it's been in place for a while. We are currently, oh, sorry, I'm going to get my camera to work eventually, maybe not. But so I think we've had a number of teachers go through it. It's been successful. We made some refinements, like many school districts, especially our smaller school districts where we're seeing enrollments drop. It's kind of like it's creating some additional challenges. This year we haven't had as much interest as we've had in the past. So I've been taking notes about things that we could look at to improve. We're also have had a bigger focus this year on inclusive practices for students with disabilities. That's kind of big push district wide. So it's kind of, yeah, but great discussion. You're all great. Go fight, win.
Thanks, Bruce. Okay, I'm going to just summarize some things quickly, and then I'm going to share my screen based on the allocation that we actually got on time this year. We got the federal grant on July 1st. Last year we didn't because of some other issues that I want to address. Um, so, and then there's also the State Emergency Enrollment Fund, which, as you know, in I think 2023, when HB 42 was passed, the actual calculation was a little odd, and so nobody qualified for the $5 million. Okay, so then we worked really hard with legislators and other people, and they couldn't really change what they ended up doing with HB 42 because it had been passed 2 years ago. They actually changed it and put it in the code and then put it in the base budget. And then we used a different calculation, which was any school. Okay, so this is really important. Any school or campus in a charter that has more campuses, if they had an increase over 3 years of at least 40% of students with interrupted formal education. We took out the WIDA calculation because that just made it incredibly confusing. As well, the intention of the legislation was about newcomers, students who have no background in academic English or English at all. And so we ended up getting that changed. And so you'll be getting notifications from me. We had several rounds of discussions with lawyers at the state. And so now the 5 million is there, but it's a one-time emergency enrollment and it's by school. And it's not uploaded yet into the grants management system, but if you qualify, you'll get a personal email from me related to how you qualified and why. So I've sent something I think I sent to Davis and to Jordan already. They don't actually have the actual number. We did, like on Title III, we did a per pupil allocation. So it was based on the count. So if you had like uh, over the 3-year period, your average and the count of this students based on 2026 enrollment was higher than 40%, then the 5 million was allocated on a per pupil allocation to the school through the district. Now, the reason that's important is what I actually found out is when I ended up sending my first notification, because it's not really uploaded yet, and it's state funds, so it's not federal funds, it's state funds, and there's a different application. But once I notify everybody, it'll show up in Utah grants as state funding. But the requirements are really focused um, based on the code and based on the original legislation, which you can only spend it very limited in relationship to materials, maybe additional well-trained paraprofessionals, smaller class size. And you ready for this? For stipends for an ESL competency-based endorsement. So if your schools, when you get notified, this is a really good incentive to support teachers in saying, now we have these funds for this school to do an ESL competency-based endorsement. Okay. And if it's charter schools and they have more than one campus, oftentimes it's only one campus with the majority of students being, or the 40% increase of students being English learners. But you'll get a personal notification from me, just so you know. I can't give you any more details on that because it's not really uploaded yet. And as soon as you are notified, then you'll see the application and you could decide if you want to apply or not. It's a one-time state $5 million based on student allocation for students with interrupted formal education. Okay, that's the criteria. And previously, it was like some outrageous number. Like it was like, I don't know, 75% increase. And of course, nobody was eligible. So Bruce, you have a question.
So schools will get notified. Will we also be CC'd on that so we can help
No,
schools?
no, districts will, not schools, districts will be notified. So Michelle has already been notified. Sue Caldwell has already been notified. Bruce, you have one school. Ellie, you have one school. But remember, and I haven't yet contacted Granite, I don't think, or Nebo. But that's coming, and the reason I didn't send it out because I wanted to have this meeting first because there are all these questions. And so in the agenda, I put the link to the actual code in the base budget because it's not a separate bill, right? So it ends up being confusing for people because it's actually in the huge base budget. And it's like, in what I sent you, the agenda, it's line 191, section 3, and it's amended. And it's affected on, July 1, 26. But the board rule wasn't approved until the 30-day feedback session. So, and that was in August. So now all of this has been kept at bay because legally we didn't really have a board rule. And it was a 30-day review ended up being August 7th. And so now that it's state law, it was already state law in the base budget. And now that it's in the base budget, the $5 million, ends up being a one-time allocation. And just so you know, the biggest issue around this, and we use the clause that said extreme need, because when we looked at the at-risk carryover, it doesn't help. I'm just going to say this, and I'm not trying to shame anybody or, accuse anybody of anything, but when you have a huge amount of money in at-risk funds and you keep on having a huge carryover, and the way in which at-risk funds are funded are based on the number of students who are English learners and the number of students in Title I poverty. But then LEAs changed the definition because the state legislature could say it say that they could do that with no report. And then when there's a carryover of like 8%, 15%, 20%, then there ends up being be a be a problem. So what we looked at in the code was extreme need, and that's how you ended up the schools in your districts and in the campuses and the charters ended up getting funds. So we didn't fudge the system. We actually used the line in the code about extreme need to benefit everybody who actually had an allocation. You see what I'm saying? Okay.
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 So I did see the email, and that makes that helps to understand a little bit better. So it'll come to us as the LEA. We then disseminate it to the schools under the requirements. So we can, for example, like when I had that extra funding go to Terra Linda, I had them write out a plan of action of how they would disseminate the funds. We approved it and then dropped it into a budget form that they could use. So when that drops, we can do it that way. Okay.
That would be the same process. And
Okay.
I don't know if Sue's on here and Ellie's here and Bruce. It would be the same thing. It's going to come to the district, right? So the total. So you'll have like, I don't know, 5 schools. Alpine has something like 10. And I'm not sure who's here from Alpine, but because of the division of the 3 districts, there are other issues related to that I won't get into. But as soon as Anya, right. So, we have a lot of work to do because now there are 3 districts and now it's based on the school divided into the 3 districts. But your point, Michelle, is really well taken. And Ellie and Bruce, when you see this as well, and Sue and Carly and Veronica and Lizzie too, because I think one of your campuses, and Bev, because you have schools in canyons, the issue ends up being it's supposed to be for the school. So you have to work with the principal and the teachers to better develop the kind of school plan that would effectively use the funds based on how the code is written.
Right.
You can't just decide you're going to change the definition and then use it however you want. That you can't do that. Right. And
So, Chris,
okay, wait a minute. Any technical assistance you need, like if you want me to come and spend time with you and the principal of those schools, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
You see, the other thing, it's wide open to determining the effectiveness for your students of how you have determined how you're going to track the progress of those particular students who have not who ended up getting the funding because, when you see the budget, you'll see that the Title III funds ended up being 7 million. It's the first time in 15 years that is increased. And the immigrant amount is much higher, and there are 10 districts, and I think it's Wasatch included, which is interesting, as well as Granite and other districts, 10 districts, Davis. You're getting immigrant funding based on interrupted formal education, the federal definition. We're not manufacturing a definition, just so you know. It's actually the federal definition related to the 5% allocation in Title III. And that's why you all ended up getting money, is because we had to change the definition from like testing a weed level 1 and 2. Okay, well that actually didn't make any sense for newcomers, you see.
Right.
So we had to change the definition as well. I know this sounds complicated, especially since, I've been dealing with this for the last 2.5 years. But now we have it. We have it, and you're going to get the funds. And if you want me to actually meet with you and with the schools and help them better understand it, because some of your other schools are probably going to start asking, well, how come we didn't get that money? You see what I'm saying? Not that people are jealous, but there is this kind of interesting rivalry that ends up happening across campuses. And we don't really need to deal with that, right? So if you need me to smooth things over, then now remember, um, the data that was used is based on the 2020, your data, right? So it's the October data from the previous year. And that's actually how the code is written, the law is written that way. Right. So it's based on your enrollment. And this is another point, the clearer you all get with your registrars to make sure enrollment data is really accurate. And then when you send it to us, then, we can be more accurate. But it all depends on the accuracy of the way in which you do enrollment, right? So that piece is like incredibly important because it's connected to funding. And as you know, it's connected to students who end up oftentimes being the most disadvantaged. All you have to do is look at the RISE data and see TSI of like 400 schools for EL. I mean, that's just a fact. It's not an accusation. It's just what happens. So it's incumbent on us to learn from each other and work more collaboratively. I mean, you heard from everybody who talked about the competency-based ESL endorsement. The first charter that started this was Monticello Academy in Lindsay because they ended up having 5 teachers with me at the University of Utah when we did a pilot 10 years ago. So I'm gonna stop there. And I'm going to have office hours too. So if you're still distressed or confused, you can stay afterward. Um, so I'm going to actually share my screen for the budget and then let you know that the USBE interpreter course. So all the courses that I'm updating for the ESL endorsement, so you have all the most recent research on translanguaging and all of that, is now transferred over to Altitude in their course catalog. And you'll be able to, use that. If you want to be a teacher in all the courses that I've updated, just send me an email and you'll have access to all the updated research, especially around translanguaging and the language access course. It's brand new. And the culture course as well. I'm working on the assessment course and the instruction, but the interpreter course is now open. And it's kind of, it's limited. I mean, I can have a wait list of about 100, but I can't actually spend time doing 100. Right. So if you want someone in your LEA to go through the interpreter course so you can offer it. See, that's what Provo did. Tana, I think, or Tanya Brown took the course and then Provo used it so that they could certify all their interpreters in every school. So this is an opportunity for you to get someone from the district to take the course and then become a teacher, take the course, become a teacher. Ellie did that. Lizzie did that. I mean, you guys are just rock stars. Michelle and her team did that, and they certify all their interpreters based on the national standards. And the 40-hour interpreter course, I'm going to put online so you actually get credit for it. Because we must have had 200 people who went through the advanced 40-hour coursework, which makes them really highly qualified. And so now that'll be in the Altitude system too. So you have all these opportunities to learn with each other and to use the resources that I'm updating. Okay, let me share. So any other questions before I share my screen so you can actually see the So I'll just tell you one thing before I show this to you. When we met with the guy in the Labor Department who's now in charge of Title III, he said, "Well, we're trying to go into the website of OELA, which is the Office of English Language Acquisition that doesn't exist anymore, and we tried to save the documents." I had to laugh because I didn't say this to him. I just said, "Oh." Well, I kind of anticipated that would happen, and so I have all those documents that are accessible for our people. which was kind of interesting. The only thing he asked about was, states have trouble with consortiums. And I thought this was, I'm kind of generally suspicious, not of you guys, right, but like of other people in the current administration. And so I said, well, the rural districts have worked together consistently for about 10 years, and they're in a consortium, and the way in which they talk with each other and their fiscal agents, is just wonderful because they're so committed to that. And then the charter consortiums as well, just really collaborative. And so one of the things Max said was at the end, the only thing we the only thing we want from you is we want our money on time. And if we have a question, we want you to answer the phone call or the email and give us the answer. So that was our experience with the Labor Department, just so you know. So I'm thinking that we're going to get our funds on time. And because it's an increase, I'll now share my screen with you. Well, let me see. Let me go back in because I don't think you're seeing it. Well, for some reason, I can't actually open it. I don't know why that is. Huh. Okay, well, I'll actually send it to you. Um, the distribution is 7 million. The immigrant funds it's 5% of the 7 million, so it's 352,000. And then the flow through is 6.3 million. The 27 administrative and state activities, I no longer have control over that. It's actually the USBE leadership. Um, which they use it for whatever is the most immediate need. But I just want you to know that the fact that we ended up getting, 1 million more than last year ends up having an impact on the number of LEAs who actually get immigrant funding, um, which again goes back to this idea of how well funds are being spent that make a difference for the academic future of students. So I'm not going to say anything else unless you have final questions, and I'm going to have office hours at the end. So once we close off and I stop the recording, I'll stay on and you can ask me any other questions that you want. But I just want to tell you that I've been in education for a while. And I think this experience with all of you has been the number one experience of my life, other than teaching law and justice classes to, refugee students from Eritrea and, Afghanistan. So I just want to thank you so much for the work that you do. And don't get discouraged. If I can do this for 60 years, I'm sure that you can keep up too. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to turn off the recording and I'll send it out so that everybody will have it as well.